You know, it's strange. When you're going around the internet, you find some pretty retarded stuff. I recently went upon this video. It's by Naomi. She's one of those atheists. You know those sort of people who look at an atheist wannabe? Let me give you an example. You know those people who, for example, look at Richard Dawkins, and they think oh my god, he's so amazing, he's doing something interesting, and then they copy exactly what he does and try to implement it in their own teaching and fail miserably. This is a perfect example of what a person can do when they're not well versed and they contradict themselves within the first 10 seconds of their video. I'll show you.
One of the things that many Muslims like to say is that it was normal back then to marry a 6-year-old child and to have sex with her when she's 9. They're saying it's normal back then, and that we have changed so much today that we are unfairly imposing our standards of today onto the people back then.
So I know what you're all thinking. So far so good, right? She drops the ball, unfortunately. Check it out.
Raping a little girl is wrong. And it doesn't matter if it happened today, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago. If you are a 52-year-old man and you are having sexual relations with a 9-year-old girl, that's immoral, and that's wrong. Even if it was normal back then, it's still wrong.
Right. I have a question. So how did you get from A to Z with nothing in between? So you went from our Prophet marrying and consummating a 9-year-old to him raping her. I think you really have the most wrong idea in the world. I mean, if you even read a single hadith. You know this 9-year-old you're talking about? She actually narrated quite a few quotes. Maybe you should read up on them. If she got raped, I'm positive she would have brought that up. You know, it was a different time, but they weren't completely retarded. So, as far as the whole raping thing is concerned, no. But what I was trying to actually focus in on is the fact you first say you won't judge an act done by the standards and morals of that time, and then suddenly you'll say, I'm sorry, even though it was okay then, it's still immoral. Why is it immoral if you just clarified that the morals of that time allowed it? Why are you even judging it? The only thing you can bring up which will actually be of a legitimate status is he was a prophet, so he could have done something and set a better example instead of marrying a 9-year-old. That's the only thing you can bring up. That's what Amazing Atheist brought up, and that's what I'm expecting you to bring up. So I'll answer that as well. The fact of the matter is, morals change by time. How can you expect something to be set if it's changing all the time? For example, look, I'll tell you. I'll explain it to you bit by bit so you understand. Forget everyone else. This is just for you. Hijab, veil, is a standard set in Islam, a timeless example. It makes sense. It works. But the West don't accept it because it doesn't follow their morals. Why? It works. It's been proven to work. But you still don't accept it. So he did set a moral standard. He did say something that is completely logical from where it came from. But the West still don't accept it. The Christians, etc. do not accept it. So as far as him setting an example, I think he set a pretty good example wherever it was. It's just the fact that other people don't accept it, e.g. Christians and other denominations, even atheists. And that's the answer. The example is set perfectly. You just don't want to accept it.
Let's take something like slavery. If we apply your logic, which is to say this, it's not wrong because it was normal back then. So in that case, you would also have to say that the slave owners here in the United States, well, they're not immoral for having owned slaves and having slaves working the land, because it was normal, it was a cultural norm, and in fact, it was even legal. It was legal and permissible. Ergo, slave owners are not immoral people.
So, wait, I'm trying to get my head around this. You are comparing a marriage to slavery and applying a logic which is not even in its right context. First of all, those marriages were done The girl never complained. She never argued. She never said that it was unfair on her. She was treated as an equal. You're comparing it to slavery, in which the slaves were tortured. They didn't have any rights. They didn't like being slaves. In this instance, the wife didn't mind being a wife at such a young age. In this example, the other party is not even complaining. And in your example, the slaves complained that eventually slavery was abolished. I don't know if you know the story. Check it up. That's what happened. It was bad. You're comparing something bad to something that was seen as good. Now, when I say something bad, I meant the slaves themselves thought it was bad. An entire race of people being subjugated for how they were born.
Slavery is wrong. Indentured servitude is wrong. Having sex with little girls is wrong.
That's about as retarded as saying something ridiculous like killing is wrong, stealing is wrong, arranged marriages are wrong, even though the wife may want to be arranged, but no, it's wrong because I'm saying it anyway. You have absolutely no proof in what you're saying. First of all, if the other party's agreeing, why are you even making a big issue out of it? And as I've covered before, she wasn't raped. I don't know who told you this, but it's kind of obvious you're either very misinformed or just plain lying. So, decide. You're either stupid or misinformed.
Pre-Hispanics did, killing and torturing human beings and sacrificing them to the gods. That's kind of an extreme example, but that is wrong.
I'm still trying to understand your examples. What the hell are you even talking about? So you're saying the people who are being subjugated, burnt, alive, killed, they wanted to be killed. How is it even a fair comparison? You're comparing a marriage which both parties agree on, doing whatever happens in a marriage, etc., condemning it, and comparing it to something which both parties are not actually agreeing on.
Now my question here is this. How come you don't say Muhammad was ignorant to something that's wrong?
Oh, wait, my spider senses are tingling. Wait, maybe it wasn't wrong. Just throwing it out there.
It was because Muhammad also had a lot of slaves too, and you were allowed to have sex with them. That makes him immoral.
I want to clear something up regarding slaves in Islam. When we say slaves, we don't mean the type of slaves you're thinking of regarding how white people treated blacks. We're thinking of servants. We're thinking of people who lost their lives in wars and had nothing and volunteered to be slaves, to live under someone's roof, under the protection of a man or a woman, and actually work for them, and someday pay off their due, and then be free, or be freed. That is a slave in Islam. That is what we're referring to. We're not referring to making them work hard and till the bone and then die because we didn't feed them. They had rights over the person who owned them, and the person who owned them had rights over them.
The rational mind can look at something like this and say, you know what? Raping a little girl has always been wrong.
A logical mind can look at your video and say, well, that's just a load of shit. You've basically lied about the Prophet raping his 9-year-old wife Aisha. You've lied about the concept of slaves in Islam, and you're pretty much lying even now. I don't see any point in actually dissecting your video further. I think you've just been so thoroughly raped by your own video and your own stupidity that it boggles the mind even now as to what kind of shit are you even talking about. What you're talking about is not Islam. It was never Islam. I don't know where you read this history. Get it double-checked and get it triple-checked. Once you got your evidence, because so far you have nothing, you have shit, you have nothing at all, then perhaps make a claim, and then you might not get thoroughly raped like this, and this might not happen again. Regarding all your other points, well, first of all, as soon as you mentioned Spaghetti Monster, I knew you were just another mindless fool following Richard Dawkins. I know the guy. I've seen all his documentaries. I have the Selfish Gene. I have the God Delusion. I've read them all. And frankly, you either misunderstood his work, you either are a retard, or you just are plain stupid. I don't know which one. But as far as seeds are concerned, your seeds are being uprooted as we speak. I hope you learned something. Peace.